The Boston Area Rape Crisis Center mainly helps survivors of sexual violence. Its mission is healing, but it's also about prevention and education. The center is taking that a step further through a new program for students all the way from middle school through college. Supporting the project is a grant from the Cummings Foundation. To tell us about the program is our guest from the center. It's Director of Community Awareness and Prevention Services, Steph Trilling. Thank you very much for being with us, Steph.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
First of all, talk about why it's so important to work with that school age and college population.
Absolutely, thank you. It is so important to start young. What we know is that many middle school and high school aged young people experience sexual harassment, sexual violence in their schools. And so to be able to go in and provide education around healthy relationships, boundaries, consent can really be preventative.
And this is not something that's about intimate contact or somebody that you know really well. This could be something that's played out in social media too, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing more and more students are experiencing harassment, threatening comments, or just bullying, sort of sexualized bullying online, on Facebook, on Instagram. And so having some kind of awareness about what is appropriate and what is healthy so that they can not only respond if it happens to them, but they can actually support their peers. So that if you see someone saying something not so nice, you can intervene and say, hey, like, that's not cool. Don't say that here.
Well, some students are not just waiting to get help. They're actually taking initiative. There was recently a case at Cambridge Ridge High School.
Yeah, absolutely. So BARC works with all of our local schools, and Cambridge Public School District had students last spring walk off the premises. They organized a protest of what they called a culture of sexual harassment, and that several students felt that they had been sexually harassed and that the school had not dealt with it appropriately. So this group of student activists called Club One organized and had a list of demands that they wanted the school to meet, and they successfully passed policy this last month saying that Cambridge Public School Districts needs to change what they're doing on this issue to support survivors and to prevent this from happening.
And I imagine this goes into many different categories, because it could be the guys against the young women, but it could also be just picking on somebody over their sexual orientation too.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. We know that LGBT students and transgender and gender nonconforming students in particular experience the highest rates of sexual harassment in schools. So it absolutely occurs against all genders, by all genders.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Steph Trilling from the Boston Area Rape Crisis Center. So what will this grant help you do that you haven't been doing already?
So this grant is really coming at such a great time for us. We have had so many schools reach out looking for support. In the past, we've been able to provide workshops to students, and now more and more we're being asked to provide professional development for teachers, for everyone from the bus driver to the lunch lady to the custodians, on how can I respond if I see students harassing one another in the schools. And administrators looking for advice around policy. And so actually working with principals and superintendents to make sure that their policies are student-centered and are going to be supportive of all of the students at their school.
Now we hear a lot about the trauma from physical violence, but what if we're talking about the trauma from this kind of harassment? What's that like for a student to go through that?
It can be so challenging for students to try to deal with all the stresses of their academic schedule, the sports that they're a part of, the family stuff that they have going on. Many of them are working jobs after school to help support their family or to save up for college. And what we find is that students experiencing sexual harassment, sexual abuse on school property or outside of school really have a hard time studying, have a hard time keeping up with all of the responsibilities. Students often talk to me about flashbacks during the school day, which makes it so that they can't concentrate on what the teacher's saying, not being able to get enough sleep at night because they have nightmares or because they can't fall asleep, having a lot of stomach aches and headaches. Sometimes they can't express how they're feeling, but it's coming up in these psychosomatic symptoms. And so we really see many students actually not going to school or dropping out of school because they have such a hard time staying focused and staying successful after they've experienced this trauma without getting the support they deserve.
And unlike some things that only a few people know about, this is broadcast sometimes. So I mean, you walk in the school building, everybody knows it.
Absolutely.
We should mention, you also have still the other services that you keep on with there. Talk about how that works when people feel that they have been traumatized, whether physically or otherwise. What happens if they call you? What goes on?
Yeah. We really try to be as available and accessible as possible. So our hotline is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's confidential. We have a number of teenagers and college-age students who are calling the hotline with anything from, can I file a police report? Can I go to the hospital? How do I talk to my parents about this? We also have in-person services, counseling services that will work with people around, here's the impact on my day-to-day. I really can't get my homework done, and our counselors can help them come up with strategies, and when appropriate, maybe even a referral for more intensive treatment so that they can heal from what they've experienced.
I know sometimes people will call you because they have a problem and they don't feel it's like a police emergency, but on the other hand, there are people who do have police emergencies. Why should they call you in addition to that? What can they get from you that they might not be able to get from a police response?
Great. We are the only people who don't have an agenda in this process. Our agenda is to support that individual, that family, through whatever they're dealing with. So the police want to get the bad guy. That's what they're looking for. What happened to you? How do I find this person and make sure they don't do it again? Sometimes people don't want the person who hurt them to be involved in the police system. Sometimes they really just want to figure out how to pay rent this month or how to go back to school. And so we can support them in whatever it is they're looking to do.
We should remind our viewers one more time the hotline number if they need to call.
Yeah, thank you.
1-800-841-8371. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Steph Trilling from the Boston Area Rape Crisis Center.